We tend to think of time as this constant thing, right? Like a river just flowing at a steady, predictable pace. But what if I told you that the time you experience isn't, well, real? It's not a recording. It's actually a story your brain tells itself. A story that gets edited and pieced together after everything has already happened.
Think about this for a second. Have you ever glanced over at an old-school analog clock, and for just a split second, the second hand just hangs there? It seems frozen in place for a moment longer than a second before it finally ticks forward again. It's this weird, tiny little glitch in reality that a lot of us have noticed.
Well, it's not just you. It's a real documented phenomenon. It's called the stopped clock illusion, or if you want to get technical, chronostasis. And it's the perfect little window into how your brain is actively building your sense of time from scratch.
So let's pull back the curtain, shall we? Let's step into the brain's own editing room and see exactly how this illusion gets made.
Okay, so why in the world does that second hand seem to pause? The answer, believe it or not, has everything to do with how your eyes move. These movements have a name. They're called saccades, and you are making them constantly. They are these incredibly fast, voluntary jumps your eyes make as you scan a room, read a sentence, or, glance at a clock. Now here's the crazy part. If you actually saw the world during one of those saccades, it would just be a chaotic, blurry mess. So to stop that from happening, your brain does something really clever. It basically hits the mute button on your vision while your eyes are in motion. This creates a tiny little gap in your perception, a moment where you're effectively blind. So here's the trick. To give you a smooth, continuous movie of reality, your brain performs a little bit of time travel magic. It takes the image you see after your eye lands on the clock, and it stretches that moment backward in time, pasting it right over that perceptual gap. And listen, this isn't just some wild theory. A really cool study back in 2001 actually tested this whole backdating thing. Researchers designed an experiment to measure just how much our brains are, well, fudging the numbers on time.
And what they found was pretty remarkable. When people made a big, quick eye movement, a saccade, towards a timer, their perception of time literally stretched. An interval that was actually only 811 milliseconds long was perceived by them as lasting a full second. Their brains were literally inventing an extra 189 milliseconds of time that never actually happened.
So the bottom line is this. You don't see the second hand freeze because it actually stops. You see it freeze because your brain is filling in that little blind spot with the very first piece of information it gets, which makes that first moment feel artificially long. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The stopped clock illusion is just one of many, many ways our internal sense of time gets warped and stretched and squeezed all the time. For example, there's something called the oddball effect, where a surprising event in a line of normal ones feels like it lasts longer. Or the kappa effect, where the time between two flashes of light feels longer if the flashes are physically farther apart. Our perception of time is constantly being pushed and pulled by other things. And this isn't just some weird laboratory trick. It shapes our most profound memories. As the writer Georgina Lawton points out, both intense joy and deep trauma, these big oddball experiences can feel like they stretch on forever, embedding themselves differently in our personal history. And the rabbit hole goes even deeper, because it's not just novelty that bends time. Our most human experiences, our emotions, our age, even our culture, all have their hands on the dials of our internal clock. You know those stories, right? Maybe you've even felt it yourself. During a car crash or a sudden scare, everything seems to happen in slow motion. So what's actually going on there? Well, when you're scared, a part of your brain called the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, just lights up. One idea is this speeds up your internal clock, but a more popular theory is that it's all about memory. In a crisis, your brain goes into hyperdrive, recording everything in super high definition. So later, when you play that memory back, it feels longer because there's just so much more information packed into it. All right, and now for the big one. The question we all start asking eventually. Why did the summers of childhood feel like they lasted an eternity, but as an adult, the years just seem to blur by faster and faster? Well, there are two big theories here. First, novelty. When you're a kid, almost everything is new. So your brain is working hard, creating really rich, detailed memories. As an adult, life is more routine. Our brains process familiar stuff way more efficiently. The second theory is just simple math, really. It's about proportionality. When you're 10 years old, 1 year is a tenth of your entire life. But when you're 50, it's only a 50th. It feels shorter because relative to your whole life, it is. And get this, it's not just what's inside your head. The very culture you grow up in can change how you perceive time. So, monochronic cultures often treat time like a resource you can spend, one task at a time, rigid schedules. But polychronic cultures tend to see time as more fluid and flexible, where relationships can easily take priority over a strict schedule. It's a totally fundamental difference in how we think about what an hour even is.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway? It means we kind of have to rethink our entire relationship with time itself.
The time you feel passing is not a live broadcast of reality. It is a post-hoc reconstruction. It's a story that your brain assembles after all the sensory data is in, after it's been processed and after it's been edited for clarity.
I think the best way to put it is this. Your brain is not a camera, just passively recording every single moment as it happens. It is a masterful storyteller.
And its whole job is to take all of this messy, sometimes delayed, and gappy information from your senses and weave it all into a coherent story that actually makes sense. It fills in the blanks, it smooths over the blurs, and it hands you a final product that feels perfectly seamless.
And that leaves us with one final pretty mind-bending thought. If our perception of something as fundamental as time is an edited illusion, a story our brain tells us, what else is it creating? What other parts of your reality is it quietly building for you right now?